LFC Transfer Room. I'm Jack, here today to talk about some transfer rumors. It's the beginning of March, but that doesn't stop us from speculating about what moves could be made in the summer as Liverpool are continuing to race for the top four in the Premier League. They are going to need to make some changes in the summer. Players outgoing, a need for some rebuild, some shake-up in the squad. Makes a lot of players linked to Liverpool, the most recent player being Rodrigo De Paul of Udinese. He's a guy who is very interesting one in comparison to current midfield options at Liverpool. So in today's video, we'll take a look at some of his stats, how he compares to Liverpool's midfielders, as well as how he's felt by the higher brass at Udinese, and what he could potentially look like, as well as a general look at his attributes. So the general things for Rodrigo De Paul: 26 years old, center midfielder, can play on the right wing a little bit for Udinese. He's played there for now 4 seasons since signing for Valencia, and the Argentine is rumored to be wanted by Liverpool for a fee of around £26 million. Now, what qualities could he bring to Anfield, and what difference could he make in the midfield for the current Premier League champions? Well, you look at the 171 games he's had for Udinese so far in his career there. 30 goals and 27 assists. Those are pretty good numbers from the midfield. A guy who doesn't play as an attacking mid plays typically on the right side of a midfield three. Now this season is having one of his best seasons overall, following on last year when he had a phenomenal year getting around 7.5 expected assists. This year already, 7.6 expected assists, joint best in the entire league with Mkhitaryan for Roma. The difference in the two guys, Mkhitaryan for Roma has 8 assists, in comparison to De Paul only has 3 assists. To me, indicative of the fact that he's ready for a change of scenery and a move up in the footballing ladder. Sporting director for Udinese, Pasquale Marino, told Italian broadcaster Radio 24 he has characteristics that many top clubs in Europe are missing. I hope it doesn't happen, but whoever signs him next summer will raise their team to a different level. Now, Liverpool could like to get their midfield raised to a different level. So how does he compare? You've mentioned the expected assists. How does that compare to other options for Liverpool? Let's get the bad out of the way first. You look at those in comparison, you see that the outside orange circle, Thiago, is pretty good in terms of ball recoveries, tackles attempted in the final 30. He's pretty good at that. Then you kind of narrow it down a bit. Curtis Jones, he's a bit more attacking than Thiago. Wijnaldum as a defensive mid is mainly there for tempo. Doesn't make as many defensive contributions. And then you narrow it even smaller, and you see Rodrigo De Paul not making many impacts in this Udinese side. And now I should clarify, these numbers are based on percentiles for the Serie A midfielders, as well as Premier League midfielders for the Premier League and Serie A players, respectively. So those numbers don't make great viewing if you're a club and you want a player who can make an impact and press in the midfield. And one of the biggest downfalls of Thiago's move since moving to Liverpool is when he's had to cover for Trent Alexander-Arnold as a right center mid. So he's had less freedom moving forward. So could that bring him down? Sure. No reason that can improve, but the reason why he is so loved is this next chart, because that is one big blue circle. You see the amount of goals per 90, assists per 90, expected assists per 90, non-penalty expected goals and assists combined, his progressive passes into the penalty area, his crosses into the penalty area, his progressive passes, and his shot creating actions are remarkable per 90. They're in the highest percentile in Serie A, and they all eclipse, with the exception of progressive passes in Thiago, they all eclipse current Liverpool midfielders and the most recent midfield that played against Sheffield United. So what this indicates to me would be a player in the mold of Felipe Coutinho when he used to play for Liverpool. Coutinho played on the right or on the left of a midfield three, while De Paul would probably play on the right. Now, could he make a very good signing and actually offer some difference in his team? I'm going to make the argument that he could, because what we see from Liverpool right now is you want fullbacks who overlap and create. Liverpool lead the league in crosses, and yet you have forwards who are not known for their aerial prowess. And when they're out of form, the forwards are you getting goals from a midfield of Jones, Thiago, and Wijnaldum? Not typically, no. Jones got the first goal against Sheffield United, but that was definitely against the run of play for them traditionally. You see the numbers right there. De Paul has that in his locker. And like Coutinho, he's able to pick the ball up 20 yards out from goal and try and bury one. His average shot distance is 24 yards from goal. He loves to just pop one from distance. And while it can be frustrating to see him put it into Rosy, fundamentally, Liverpool would enjoy a playmaker in the midfield who can change games. So when your forwards aren't clicking perfectly, maybe you got a guy in the midfield there. So £26 million for a 26-year-old. How would you feel about that move if it was to be made for the Argentine? Let us know in the comments your thoughts about it. You can watch some YouTube compilations of him, get very excited. But this was kind of a broad look at what he has in comparison to current Liverpool midfielders. There's going to be a lot of these types of videos in the coming months up until the summer transfer window to get you all the information you need about the potential targets Liverpool will look at ahead of the summer. I've been Jack, and this has been the LFC Transfer Room. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.